Love and resilience in the shadow of war. The small town of Elmsworth buzzed with restrained energy. Posters of Uncle Sam lined the streets, and radios crackled with news updates. At the local train station, uniformed men shuffled nervously, their duffel bags slung over their shoulders. Some smoked cigarettes to steady their nerves, while others leaned against pillars, staring into the distance. Among them stood Private James Callahan, his fingers clenched tightly around a folded piece of paper, orders sending him to the Pacific. James's heart pounded as he read the words again. Deployment, Guadalcanal. Departure, 7 a.m., December 12th, 1942. He stuffed the paper into his pocket, swallowing hard against the lump in his throat. The scent of coal smoke and damp wood from the platform filled the air, mingling with the chatter of families saying goodbye. His gaze wandered toward the crowd of waving families, searching for a familiar face. And then he saw her. Emily Davis stood near the platform's edge, a white nurse's uniform catching the morning light. Her auburn hair framed a face that always seemed to carry equal parts strength and gentleness. She looked up, meeting his eyes, and smiled. It was a smile that had steadied him since childhood, but today it faltered just slightly. "You're really going, then?" she asked as he approached, her voice softer than usual. He nodded. "They need us out there. I'll write you, every chance I get." Her hand brushed his, lingering for a moment. "Just come back, James. Promise me that." "I promise." But even as he said it, the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on his chest. The whistle of the train sounded, sharp and final, signaling time was running out. Emily stepped closer, and for a moment, neither spoke. Instead, they memorized each other's faces, as though fearing they might forget. James boarded the train, turning for one final glance. Emily's figure blurred as the engine roared to life, and the distance between them grew. Days turned into weeks, and the Pacific Islands became a world of mud, rain, and fire. James clung to Emily's letters like lifelines. Each envelope bore traces of her perfume and words that reminded him of home. He kept them folded in his chest pocket, safe from the elements, rereading them by moonlight when sleep eluded him. "I treated a boy today who reminded me of you, so brave and stubborn. You'd like him. He survived, and so will you." In return, James poured his thoughts onto paper, writing by lantern light under makeshift tents. "The nights here are the worst. Sometimes I dream of you, and it's like I'm back home. I keep that thought close when things get hard." The letters bridged the distance between them, but they couldn't erase the horrors James faced. Explosions shattered the night. The cries of wounded men echoed through the jungle. He fought to keep Emily's words at the forefront of his mind, but some nights, despair crept in like the ever-present humidity. Emily read his letters by the dim light of the hospital tent, pressing her fingertips to the words as if she could touch him through the page. She imagined his voice as she read, holding back tears that threatened to fall. Her work as a nurse was grueling, but in James's letters, she found the strength to keep going. On one particularly quiet night, she wrote back, "The stars remind me of you. No matter how far apart we are, I know we're under the same sky. That thought keeps me strong." In January 1943, Emily received no letters. Days stretched into weeks, and fear gnawed at her. Rumors of heavy casualties in Guadalcanal reached her hospital, and she refused to let her imagination fill in the gaps. Still, nightmares plagued her, visions of James lost in the jungle, wounded and alone. One evening, while treating burns on a young soldier, Emily overheard a name at the nurse's station. "James Callahan? They brought him in last night. He's stable." Emily froze, the needle slipping from her hand. Her heart raced as she wiped her hands clean and rushed toward the recovery ward. Each step felt impossibly heavy, her breath shallow with dread and hope. The ward was filled with rows of cots, occupied by wounded soldiers. Emily scanned each face, her pulse quickening until she saw him, bandaged and pale but breathing. Emily rushed to the recovery tent, her heart slamming against her ribs. James lay on a cot, his face pale but alive. His forehead bandaged, and faint bruises marred his face. His eyes fluttered open, and when he saw her, a tired smile spread across his lips. "You found me," he murmured, voice weak but steady. Tears blurred her vision as she leaned down, brushing his hair back. I never stopped looking. She gripped his hand, feeling the warmth of his skin, grounding herself in the reality that he was here, alive. James's gaze softened. I kept my promise. The words were barely above a whisper, but they held the weight of everything he had endured. The war eventually ended, but the scars remained. Emily and James returned to Elmsworth, forever changed but determined to rebuild their lives. Together, they opened a small clinic, caring for the town's wounded hearts and bodies. Their days were filled with healing, both physical and emotional. James often helped veterans struggling to find their place again, while Emily became a source of comfort for grieving families. Their bond, forged in the fires of war, proved unbreakable. On quiet evenings, they would sit on the porch, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. And in those moments, they knew that their story wasn't just one of survival, but of enduring love, proof that even in the darkest times, hope could light the way home.